that?
Great question. I guess happiness, this is a heretical statement, but happiness is boring, which is terrible to say, but you feel happiness in yourself, but televising it, showing it to other people, perhaps wouldn't have that selling to it.
So at that point, though, what we're doing is we're putting the sellability on a higher level than the happiness. It's an interesting point you make, Gordon, because I come from a theater background, and one of the things I learned early on in Theater 101 is that the reason that you never see a scene of a family, father, mother, brother, sister, eating breakfast and reading the newspaper is because it's boring. Everybody does it, but it's boring. Nobody wants to watch it. So you definitely raise a good point. And we're going to take a few minutes and talk with our panelists. Kimberly Clark Sharp, you are the author of the near-death classic After the Light. Now, you talk about this from a humorous perspective. Where'd that come from? I mean, when I think about, going to heaven and all that, this is like really heavy stuff. This is serious stuff.
Yeah, well, get over it, because it's really not. You're going to die. Everyone on this panel is going to die. Everyone listening is going to die. But in my experience and the experience of untold millions, and this is not about religion, by the way. This is the biology of being human and passing on. It's not just humans either. I would say any animals loved by humans show up in the near-death experience. And just the knowledge that which is ourselves, that little narcissistic ego part of us, we get to travel with it, from whence we came. That which is ourselves, that which we, the Kim that is Kim was still Kim on the other side. And, and just knowing that there is another side and that my awareness on the other side was so much greater than here. And again, that universal sense that near-death experiencers have, that this is school, that we enrolled, that we're in different grades, that we have different homework assignments, but it's temporary, and it's feeding something greater than this very finite human experience called our soul, which I learned in my near-death experience was eternal. Mm-hmm. And I can't get my brain around eternal. I did when I was dead, so to speak. I got it because I saw it. I was shown eternity. But back in this body, it's hard to communicate with words that which is not bound by language. Just want everyone to know that the news is good. It's all going to be okay. I promise.
And words are definitely a very poor form of communication. Briefly, the Seattle International Association for Near-Death Studies. What do you folks do up there?
Oh, we help people. Now, we're part of another organization. I would love to send people to the website of the International Association for Near-Death Studies. It's everything you'd want to know. Beyond Seattle, it is a worldwide website with information about support groups worldwide, movies, books, reports, research. It's endless. And that website is at iands.org. And then you can find Seattle Alliance.
That's
there.
Without the Seattle in front of it.
Yeah, you can find. We have SeattleAlliance.org too, but I want to pass people along to a bigger resource.
Let me give that out. So you got two websites, folks, and we'll have these posted on our website as links: www.seattleiands.org or www.iands.org without the Seattle. Either one of those will get you to the International Association for Near-Death Studies. Gordon,
and what we do is take, so I'm sorry to interrupt, Brent, but you asked me a question I didn't answer. And what what we do, honestly, is guaranteed to take the fear out of living. I guarantee it. It's an absolute. I'm old.
Excellent.
Excellent. I promise you, happiness is achievable.
Excellent. Gordon Mathews, Professor Gordon Mathews. How do people find out more about the work you're doing? How do people get involved? Get your books. Check in on the. I don't even know whether you are out there giving speeches or out there in front of the public. How do people find out more about Professor Gordon Mathews' work?
Okay, I don't have an organization, but look up my name on Amazon.com, for example. That's Mathews with one T, Mathews, and I've got several books on this. That's probably the best way, and then you can find my email address rather easily. Just, type my name in Google, and you can find it. Send me a personal message. I'll answer. My most fun in dealing with a topic like this is I teach a class called Meanings of Life. And we have these long discussions and arguments every week about this, and it's great fun. If you're passing through Hong Kong, take that. But if you're not, meanwhile, simply Google my name and see what you can find.
Excellent. And what conclusions have you arrived at with respect to the meaning of life?
Okay. There's no grand conclusion, but I think I'll shoot my load early here and just speak of a couple of points that Kimberly has already touched upon. How do you get happy? Well, one thing is laugh, and laugh at yourself particularly. We're all fairly ridiculous beings, and I think one problem we have is taking ourselves much too seriously. I'm sure Kimberly agrees, as does Lee.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I could hug you right now for saying that.
Gotta laugh, yes.
Point to make about this, just to finish up, is that remember that what's really important in life are not the achievements you make or the things you buy. It's simply these moments in between. Like when you go outside and you feel the sun on your arms, you feel the wind, you see somebody you love. That's what life is about. That's what life means. Because for all we know, we're the only beings in the universe that have any consciousness of what's really happening. And let's celebrate that. We're the nerve endings of the universe. So we should be supremely happy just by the fact that we exist. It's a miracle that we exist. Terrific.
Tell us how people find out more about Lee Parker and all the wonderful things and the wonderful work that she does.
Well, it's not necessarily about me, Lee Parker. It is about the service that we do at Freedom Bound International. And I totally agree with Gordon and Kim. My greatest pleasure, my greatest joy is when I am of service to other people. Freedom Bound International is a common law consulting support organization, and we are here to help people who are in the midst of frightening circumstances they may be facing in the litigious United States environment. Give me a call if you need someone to talk to, if you need help. I do not give advice, but what I do give is a place for you to not be alone. And that serves me as I serve you, and that is the greatest thing. We've been around for 17 years. We have helped immeasurable numbers of people. We've put on seminars in the areas of truth, liberty, and justice. And please take advantage of that and don't make yourself a stranger to our services.
And that website is www.freedomradio.us, freedomradio.us, Freedom Bound International. And, well, Lee, that brings us to my next question, so I'm going to direct it at you first. Where does freedom enter into the mix? What have you found in terms of people's attitudes towards personal freedom in conjunction with their views on happiness? Do you find one dependent on the other, or are they two distinct qualities of life regarded separately by people and cultures around the world? Let's start with you, Lee.
Wow, that is a very important question. My personal observation and belief, and it's all about perception, is that within having choice, I am my freest, and when I am my freest, I am my happiest. That might not mean that I always like what's going on around me, but knowing that I have chosen what I am experiencing gives me the opportunity to grow from that experience. When someone else is dictating to me that I must go here, must go there, must be this, must do that, in some way I have lost touch with who I am. And so I think freedom and happiness are hand in glove.
Now, I wrote a book on this exact subject called The Pursuit of Happiness, Freedom in the Human Spirit. And in my book, I postulate that you cannot truly be happy unless you are free. However, Gordon, you brought out very effectively, I think, that, metaphorically speaking, the cow is happy just being a member of the herd. So where does freedom enter into the mix here at all? Is there something correct in what I wrote, or is it completely, off the page because of what you had to say about different cultures?
No,
how does freedom fit into the mix?
Something absolutely true about what you wrote. It's well documented that the most unhappy societies we've ever seen have been dictatorships, communist societies, where people do not have freedom and they sense this large anonymous government that's controlling their every move. In my book, Pursuits of Happiness, somebody wrote about China in the 1980s and about what a miserable place it was because nobody had any personal initiative at all. You need that initiative. But freedom, while it's essential, can also go too far. And I make a difference between the freedom against these anonymous governments and the freedom that's limited by people you love, which I sense as being positive. Let me give an example of where freedom can go too far. Let's say a guy of my age dumps his wife, dumps his 4 or 5 kids for the sake of marrying his bimbo secretary. That's an example of my own freedom having gone too far because I'm making other people miserable for the sake of my own selfish pursuit of happiness. Now, that's an extreme example and a rather funny one, I know, but nonetheless, sometimes personal freedom needs to be weighed against the people you love. And it's not that they have you in chains necessarily, it's just that you've got a responsibility to others too. So freedom and responsibility are both essential, and they're both necessary for happiness. You can't have only one and not the other. They've got to be balanced.
Okay, that's fair. And we're over to Kimberly on the same basic question. And again, you have that unique insight that you have been to the other side and back. Where does freedom enter into the mix when we're talking about